Villains, we all know of their reputation as the horrible fiends the world makes them out to be, but let's face it, there would be no story without the villains. Yes, I see your eyebrows cocking now, but think about it, villains make the movies. They make the shows. No one wants to see an epic battle between the forces of good and the forces of really nice. So proving this universal truth, we look to anime, many of us first point of contact when it came to even knowing who or what an antagonist was. To start the list off, we begin with one of the most despicable. An adjective quite apt for one such as this. This piece of shit drove home the point of an antagonist. To serve as a direct barrier to the goals of the protagonist. But in the case of Naruto, he's been a constant thorn in the side of Inuyasha and his team since the inception of this titular series. Once that sinister music flooded our living room speakers and the purple miasma filled the screen. Not only was he cunning, he was quite powerful too, thanks to his creepy regeneration power and his everlasting arsenal of demons to absorb. That and the fact that his name literally alludes to the underworld should make it perfectly blatant as to why this man is so dangerous. His ability to control wasps from the nether realm, shape-shifting, lust for a woman who was not feeling him and enhancing his physical strength make him an imposing and quintessential villain quite worthy in starting off our list. A classic anime villain to continue the list. Vicious didn't have any supernatural ability that we know of, no fantastic superpowers. Just a brain, general lack of human decency, and an annoying tendency to be a roadblock to our beloved Spike Spiegel every chance he got. Getting his Corleone on in the late 90s, Vicious was a crime kingpin. Ambitious, obsessive and ruthless, he stages a coup against the hardest gangsters in the solar system. What a way to go after being Spike's partner and right-hand man. That relationship went south once they both courted a special lady named Julia. This convoluted relationship with the series' protagonist, Spike, created a unique tension that drove the series. Without Vicious, Spike would never be motivated, focused, and determined. He was our hero's catalyst, igniting something in Spike each time they faced off that made for some of the best moments in anime television history. Goku Black aka Zamasu gets ultimate points for not knowing how or when to give up. As if future Trunks didn't have enough to deal with throughout the years. We all remember his history with the androids and how traumatized all us 11-year-olds were when we saw how they got busy with the power blasts at Gohan's expense. Well, they've got nothing on this character. As the Supreme Kai of Universe 10, we know off the rip that he's going to be formidable. After Zamasu views the entirety of existence and humanity, he becomes depressed over just how whack mortals are and set out to destroy them all and begin the universe anew. KARIYA comes out of retirement upon hearing of warriors worthy to face off against. Known as the Hand of God, KARIYA carries out the shogunate's wishes, one of which is to eliminate the Sunflower Samurai and his family for his role in the Shimabara Rebellion. KARIYA's murderous talents are very evident in his fights with Mugen and Jean. He easily makes mincemeat of Mugen and proves to have the edge over Jean. KARIYA's skills lie with his use of the sword as well as a mastery over ki, but more so his calm and collected demeanor that hides a cold and manipulative personality. A villain's villain through and through. It can be said without a doubt that KARIYA is the deadliest character in Samurai Champloo. Cell doesn't seem to be as popular as some of the other heavyweights in the Timeless series, but he's pretty compelling. This isn't just some evil force from somewhere in the universe. This is a creature biomechanically engineered to be a super warrior with all the DNA of the most powerful fighters in the galaxy. Including inheriting the bloodthirsty scion love for fighting stronger opponents to the death. Cell's origin story doesn't get enough credit, and it's very satisfying to see him turn these heroes' signature attacks back on them. Not to mention Bruce Faulconer's iconic theme that played every time this cat came on the screen. The beat was ahead of its time. Not just cruel and calculated, with his incredible power this prick can do things like generating the equally strong Cell Juniors. Not to mention he's the first villain ever that required a Super Saiyan 2 combat level to eliminate. Light Yagami began as someone who believed he was doing right, admired by all, loved by many, a top-tier Boy Scout with a promising future in the police force. But of course, he ended up with the power going to his head. With a huge brain and an even bigger ego to match, Light's vainglory combined with a Death God's notebook created a recipe for a singular story with all sorts of commentary on power and morality. Light's quest for perfection leads him to become a disturbing mastermind who evolves into judge, jury, and executioner for the entire world. Running the show from the shadows and outsmarting pretty much everyone who got in his way. Orochimaru was persistent, powerful, and so very typical. Anyone who crossed his path was simply a pile of flesh to be discarded or used. Simple. He gives no regard to any pain. Murdered men, women, and children indiscriminately. He is the only truly evil character in the series. His name always whispered with a Voldemort-esque fear and hatred behind it. Speaking of Voldemort, the pair of them seemed to have a satanic fetish for snakes. Everything about him was inhuman. Cruel. Heartless. From kidnapping to using people as pawns, using characters as genetically modified experiments. He was a mad scientist with no regard for human life of any kind except for the extension of his own. Madara Uchiha of the notorious Uchiha clan and Hashirama's the first Hokage's old rival. The dopest of villains. During most of the series, Madara was nothing more than a legend. But his strength becomes a problematic reality as it was unparalleled compared to any other Uchihas. Madara was the first to use a powerful technique that required Mangekyo Sharingan in both eyes. The only one who could fight Hashirama non-stop for several days. In fact, their epic battle carved actual geographical monuments. Not only was he the shinobi version of Google Earth, but he also brought the nine-tailed beast under his control to destroy Konoha and is shown to control the tailed beasts easily. A feat no other ninja was able to boast about. A feat most villains in that universe can only dream of. Madara is a ninja with no discernible weakness. He had the ability to take on entire armies without using more severe levels of jutsu. He faced off against the 5 Kage, the supposed 5 strongest ninjas of modern times, and dog-walked them as they tried to defeat him all while mocking them. FRIEZA is one of the most wicked villains in the DBZ franchise. Hands down. This jerk murders an entire race without any remorse. Glee actually. I'll never forget Bardock squaring up with the squad like a brave scion just to get obliterated a few seconds later. Nonchalant murder, insidious plotting, all done with a cold and calculating smile, FRIEZA is a truly Machiavellian. Just missing wine glass is all. Stabbed the scions in the back just to make them made their child prince a pet soldier. Blew up planets for fun. Enslaved millions. Of all the villains despised by shonen-obsessed adolescents worldwide, this sociopath takes the pot. Aizen, former captain of Squad 5, leader of all errand cars. One of, if not the smartest villains of all, who went by the unspoken but cardinal law. Almost if not just as powerful as head Captain Yamamoto even during his time in Soul Society, and after his subjugation of the GOKU, the dude literally becomes immortal. Able to take on nearly every captain, Blizzard, and Vice Captain Solodolo. One man, by himself, no help, who mastered every form of Shinigami combat. Is able to plan out war 100 years prior to it happening. all while being perfectly capable of deceiving nearly everybody in the entire series in the process. This man has abnormal power, godlike even. I guess that's why he eventually decides to try and destroy the Soul King. With the ability to use Kido that can bend time and space, and a Zanpakuto capable of perfectly controlling all 5 senses of anyone who lays eyes on it even once in their life, he is essentially unstoppable.